So, after a pretty rough stretch in the markets, the big question now is, what actually matters this week? Hey everyone, happy Monday, March 23rd. I'm Endrit Sella, and this is Capital Markets Quickie. Let's jump into what's driving the week ahead. Quick note before we dive in. Today's episode is brought to you by AMF Capital Asset Management Frankfurt. Learn more about our funds and strategies at amf-capital.de. All right, let's dive right in. Now, coming into this week, markets are already on edge. The major U.S. indices closed lower for the fourth straight week, and both the Dow and the Nasdaq briefly dipped into correction territory before recovering slightly into Friday. So yeah, sentiment is fragile. And that brings us straight to the key themes for this week. First up, earnings. All eyes are on GameStop reporting tomorrow. The stock is actually up around 13% so far this year, which is pretty wild considering sales have been slipping. But sentiment got a boost after Michael Burry disclosed a position. We also get numbers from Chewy, Paychex, and KB Home. And that last one is interesting because the U.S. housing market is still facing a shortage of roughly 4 million homes, so any guidance there could move the sector. On top of that, two Chinese robotaxi players, Pony AI and WeRide, are reporting. Both stocks are down close to 30% this year, so investors will be watching closely for signs of stabilization in that space. Now shifting to macro. The big one here is consumer sentiment, coming out on Friday. And honestly, this one matters more than usual. Why? Because it's going to tell us how consumers are reacting to rising gas prices and the ongoing tensions in the Middle East, which are starting to feed directly into inflation expectations. Then on Wednesday, we get the import price index. That's going to give us a better read on how tariffs are feeding into prices, especially after last week's surprise jump in wholesale inflation. And on Thursday, we'll get initial jobless claims, which should give us a quick pulse check on the labor market. We'll also see revisions to fourth quarter productivity. And that's been a really interesting dynamic lately, with productivity rising, but wages not quite keeping up. So overall, this week is a mix of micro and macro, but the real driver, geopolitics and inflation expectations. That's what the market is trading right now. All right, that wraps up today's Capital Markets Quickie. Join me again tomorrow morning for more market updates. See you then.